Due to possible harmful extremist content, parental discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. The views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of the station, its affiliates, or advertisers. The use of the show is only allowed with the express written permission of the producer and the host. So get ready for 2 hours of the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show starting right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show, Wednesday night edition for May 27th, 2026. And with me tonight in the house, we've got Bullhorn Barry. As usual. How are you doing, Barry?
Hello?
Yeah. You there?
Yeah, what happened, man? Did you cut out?
I don't know. Oh,
I heard 2026, and that was it.
Okay. Well, with us tonight, we've got Barry in the house. How are you doing, Barry?
It's Bullhorn Barry. Get it correct, man. Come on.
Okay. Mr. Bullhorn? Mr. Horn?
I'm ready to toot the horn tonight, that's for sure.
All right, let's talk about something we haven't probably talked about much. Sports, right? The World Cup is coming to North America here in the next couple of weeks, June 11th through the 19th. 140, what did I say? 104 matches played across 16 host cities in United States, Mexico, and Canada. And it's got all kinds of things happening around it. One is the hotel occupancies are incredibly low, like lower than last year, much lower than last year. So reservations and whatnot for the world, like you can get a room, no problem, but the room pricing is still very, very high, as are ticket pricings. They did this new like free-for-all sort of pricing version this year. Dynamic pricing, I think they call it, where, you know, if there's more interest, the prices go up and up, and they're putting them in very big American cities where there's a lot of money floating around, and boom, suddenly the price of these events have shot up through the moon. You know, we're looking at a couple $1,000s for a ticket to, you know, an obscure team too, like, you know, not even like the premier ones. So I don't know, man. There's an airline in Australia now that's running ads saying, look, you can go to the World Cup, or you can, you know, if you're a Brazil fan, just go to Brazil for like, you know, it's $5,000 to go watch a 90-minute game, or for $400, we'll get you to Brazil. You know what I'm saying? You can go in the Central Park, wherever the huge screens are, and watch it there. In Brazil, it'll be probably an even better, you know, event. You get my point. So they're advertising with dynamic pricing that are fed into their commercials and their ads to change, you know, dynamically as prices change, to show the comparison between the pricing for, you know, actually going to the World Cup versus the going to the World Cup country you're rooting for, and just hanging out there, getting the culture, getting the vibe, the food, the whole 9 yards for a fraction of the price. I don't know, Barry, is that a reasonable second place if the pricing for everything is so through the roof that you know, it costs $5,000 to go watch one game, and that's just say one person, you know, two of you, 10,000, you got a family of four, 20 grand.
It's shocking that you can do what you just said. I mean, but I guess it's kind of atypical, right, of what we're seeing happening kind of across the board with the establishment. You know, the concert tickets are outrageous. Kid Rock even said, man, I'm not gonna allow Ticketmaster to charge those kind of outrageous prices for my concerts. If he can even get a concert where they back him, right? Because, you know, they censor people. They will block groups, just like they did during the shamdemic when they blocked groups from performing when they wouldn't get the jab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's a wild thing happening out there. But anyway, this event, it seems to be sold out. But it's funny, you know, hosting this in America, we just don't really care about soccer. I got to put that out there. Mm-hmm. We really don't care. You know,
probably not Native Americans as much. Probably some of the, you know, immigrants that have come over here, they do like soccer a lot, you know. I mean, even from the Middle Eastern countries, you know, I know a lot of people from Burma and India, and they like soccer quite a bit. They like it more than football.
Yeah, and a lot of them are very successful. They would put up quite a bit of money to go see their team play in their hometown, their new hometown, that is, right?
Sure. Why
Yeah.
not? Go visit family.
Yeah. So, I guess there's a market for it here. It's just the mainstream culture. I mean, I could care less. I won't watch a single game. I remember my last experience working in Chicago as a server and a bartender, and it was a nightmare because they just wouldn't tip us. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We would be working our tail off. They'd be spending a fortune, but they wouldn't tip. Right. Yeah, and I mean, you'd get a table full of Germans and you're just like, okay, great. I'm going to just be running beers back and forth to these guys all night and they won't leave me a dime. And it was, lo and behold, they had to change policy citywide to just say, yeah, go ahead and leave tips. Like, no one, just add it on. And if they complain, just tell them it's because you don't do it.
Yeah. No, I've seen a lot of restaurants, bars, and grills that are adding the tip. And there's actually a lot of fraud going on with that as well. They'll put in there, I've seen, at least on X, I've seen people that, hey, say, here's my ticket. Here's what they said they charged me for a tip, 20%. And it was actually 35%, And I guess until somebody catches it and points it out, they can do away with it. But there's all these little schemes going on. Even like at the grocery store now, they did away with pretty much at most of the grocery stores, at least Walmart and Aldi's that I've been to. They don't have the sticker price tags anymore. They're all digital, so they can change them on a dime. And if they're tracking you and tracing you in the grocery store, which admittedly some of them are, they could change the price just based on knowing that you needed it. They see you come down the aisle and grape juice is at $2.99, but when you go down to get it, it's $3.99. I mean, I'm just saying that the door for fraud is open wide with everything these days. Technology is making that a reality for corrupt people.
Yeah, could you imagine? Like, Walmart finds out that you're worth, hundreds of millions of dollars somehow, right? So every time you go down an aisle, every price change, it just gets jacked up because, they'd assume you won't care. Right. If you find out about that, you'd be so pissed. Like, really? You just trying to upcharge me? I mean, airlines do it all the time, right? They say if you're booking flights to jump to different countries and check prices from all over, the place, and you'll get drastically different prices, right?
Yeah,
depending on where your VPN tells them you are.
Yep. I saw a video where a woman was buying airline tickets for herself and her grandmother. They wanted to charge her grandmother more because she was old.
Oh.
Like, I don't know, $50, $60 more? Like what kind of hazard comes with being old? And isn't that discrimination? I mean, I don't know, man. Yeah. Again, this is an X video. I can't confirm it, but it looked legit. And she was showing it step by step without any cuts in the video by putting in the name, putting in the age, and putting in the destination. So it all checked out. I guess you could fake that, but it would take a lot of work to fake that. So I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me. And then imagine how easy it would be to change the price. Okay, you go buy it and you go, man, that's $3.99. They go, no, I just paid $2.99. But because it can change on a dime. I mean, instant. Once you walk past it, it's already back to $2.99.
Yeah.
Never.
And how do they control that? Like, how do they know when you put it in the cart? Right? If you buy a bunch of toilet paper and all of a sudden while you're in there, the next Ebola outbreak, is announced. And so all the toilet paper is suddenly jacked up. Do you pay the price when you put it in your cart or when you get to the register?
That's a good point.
Right.
I don't know. They'll probably try to simplify it to where, you just pay for it on your phone. As you add items, your phone collects the data and it pays automatically through some online source. And then that way they wouldn't have to worry about that little loophole that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's quite a loophole,
I mean, I think what they want to do is digitize everything as much as possible because that opens the door to the biggest and most amount of fraud. You know what I'm saying? The more they can digitize everything, the whole entire process, and the quicker, the better.
Yeah,
forget
that's for sure.
Dude, you just run it through your phone. Your phone pays for it automatically, and in the future, you got a chip in your hand, and it does it for you.
Yeah, and then it gets you on the reoccurring charges and all that stuff. And hey, you're going to want an apple every week, aren't you? We'll sign you up for the Apple a Week program.
Yeah. It reminds me of Minority Report, you know, where everywhere Tom Cruise went, man, they were identifying him through biometrics, you know, and hitting him up with everything that he possibly might need, a new jacket, a new sport coat, a new this, a new that, you know, always trying to sell us something, you know, which I don't know how that's going to work in the future if we're all on a basic chump change income. Because that money be drained pretty quick, dude, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, it's like, you know, you got 3 choices of milk for lunch today, right? Which one which one do you want, chocolate, or you want skim, or you want like vitamin D milk? You know, so they're going to be pushing your choices like that. You want lasagna or spaghetti? It's pasta day. Nothing, you know, it's just enough, in other words, to make you feel like you've made a decision.
Yeah. They want to make you feel like you have some autonomy left.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. A little bit of freedom.
You went with the lasagna? What are you, crazy?
Yeah. Well, and then the 3 different brands, if they have different brands at all, kind of spinning off what you're saying, will all be owned by the same corporation, but they'll give you the idea that it's different and a different company altogether. And it's kind of like today, a few companies own everything. I've seen the charts, done where there's these few bulk companies that own everything from dog food and products and candy and everything. And then it just spawns out to all these different names that make it look like it's this huge, diverse, free market happening when it's really not. It's BlackRock on crack.
BlackRock on crack. There you go. I'll tell you what, that's a good segue into the communist mayor of New York's newest plans. Have I mentioned this guy's insane yet?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I did mention that he's insane. Now, a while back, we covered a story about how the city of New York was going to make it much more difficult to transact real estate. And the fact that you were going to have to give the city and certain charities and whatnot first dibs on your property. So if you want to put your place on the market, let's say you got a $5 million 2-bedroom condo in a nice part in Manhattan, okay, and it's your second home, and I'm going to start getting all these taxes on it. I just want to sell it. Okay, I'm done. I don't live there anymore. I live down in Miami. I'm just going to sell that thing, cash out the $5 million, and move it into something else, maybe real estate in Florida instead. And so you call up your real estate agent and say, let's put it on the market. Put it on the market first thing tomorrow morning at a price of $5 million, $4,999.99, right? 99. They always do that. So it goes on the market at $5 million the next morning, but it's not going to be on the market. It's going to be on the institutional government fast-tracked market the next morning. So if the city or one of these nonprofits that work with the city wants to come up to you and say, okay, we'll pay you $5 million, then you're done. You sell it to them. They get first and only offer on it. If somebody else in your building, the guy next door, finds out that it's on the market and he's like, I want it because I want to bust on that wall and make a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom, boom, he can't buy it. He might pay you $6 million to get it, but he can't get it because the city gets first dibs on it. And, they accepted your offer. So, boom, it's done. A bidding war will never happen again. Secondly, once let's say the city passes, everyone passes, it gets on the free market. Now, okay, it actually makes it to where your neighbor finds out about it and he wants to make an offer, and he does make the $6 million offer. You now have to go into an escrow period for, let's say, another month and a half. It could be much longer if anyone expresses an interest in it, but at least another month and a half of you twiddling your thumbs, waiting for them to have the chance to pass on it. They've already passed on it, but now you got to give them another month and a half to pass on it again at a higher price. Okay. Then after all that time is done, it might be 6 months minimum. Then you can start going into closing versus the original scenario where your neighbor would have paid you $6 million cash. Because he's, some famous or whatever, and he's got that kind of money, and he'd have paid you the cash on the barrelhead to buy that thing out. You'd have closed the next day. You'd had money in your bank account inside of a week, right?
Oh yeah.
So Barry, this guy's psycho. This is the environment that they've set up. Now he came out the other day, Mom Dami, Mom Dookie, Mad Manny, however you want to call them. And he had this to say.
Citywide campaign, Fix the City, we will focus on the worst landlords in New York City. When necessary, we will take aggressive legal action to remove negligent owners and property managers. And for buildings that have suffered chronic neglect, we will work to transfer ownership to responsible stewards. Stewards that include community land trusts, nonprofits, or even the tenants themselves.
Or even the tenants themselves. That's a nice little carrot to throw out there. Yeah, we'll just give you guys the homes. You can own it. Yeah. This is not how you build a prosperous, real estate economy in the world's biggest financial market, soon to be second or third or fourth biggest financial market. This is how you run people out of there. The guy who lives in Miami has that apartment up there and says, screw it, I'm selling it. I'm out of this. They're gone. You drive money out of the city by doing this. And this whole confiscation thing, they put in laws. They're going to put in regulations that make it very expensive for you to upkeep your apartment. And then they make another law that says you can't raise the rent. So they've just capped your income and jacked up your expenses to keep in line with what the city deems to be, necessary for your apartment that people walked into, toured, signed a lease, and moved into all on their own accord. There's other places for rent if they hate it that much, move. It's just going to force you to finally say, screw it, I'm broke. How much are you going to give me for the house? And then they lowball you and you get screwed. Mm-hmm. And this isn't just all BlackRock, and big corporations that are owning these real estates. It's a lot of people. That's the way you get ahead in life, is you try to buy a second home that you can rent out and fix up over time and, make an investment out of it, right? Long term, right? Mm-hmm.
Well, it's giving preeminence to select groups no matter what, no matter how you slice it, even after they pass on it, like you said. But I think it's even worse than you're pointing out. Everything you said is like 110% true, but it's worse because it's a power grab. Because he said NGOs. In other words, government crony organizations who can buy it and gobble up more power and use the buildings for whatever they basically want. They could use it just to generate income to put into their causes, or maybe even just change the building to something totally different. You know what I'm saying? It's a power grab is what that sounds like to me. I mean, it's under the guise of, we're trying to help the little guy, but really what they're doing and saying is it's a power grab for us.
It's, he's a socialist, guys. He made no, excuses about it. He's not denying it. He's not hiding it. He's a socialist. And obviously, we all know socialism is the pathway to communism, but, I don't want to get ahead of my skis here. He's a socialist. What does socialism mean? The government owns and controls the means of production, housing, everything. The government owns it, or it's owned by a collective, right? That's why he talks about the NGOs or whatnot, because at least it's being owned by an NGO that's going to be friendly to the takeover one day, where they all get their golden parachutes, of course, but they just secede all that property over to the city, and then the city can own it. And now the city owns all the housing. Have you seen? I mean, I haven't, but I've heard the stories of the projects in New York. The city-owned projects, and the laundry list of complaints they have come nowhere near what a lot of these private, landlords are seeing. So the same levels of decay that they would take your property away from you are the same levels that people are currently living in city-owned housing in New York. Right?
Oh yeah. And they've got biases too, man. Like if they'll probably let one guy who's got all kinds of terrible problems with his apartment complex or what have you, and then some other guy who they don't like. Maybe he's MAGA, maybe he voted for Trump, maybe he supports Trump, and they hate him. because he's got conservative values and he's got one or two small minor problems that he can fix, but they go ahead and just basically destroy him nonetheless. Because when you give the government the kind of power that he's talking about, that's when you open the door for all kinds of abuse, period. And they will abuse it. They've proven that over and over again throughout all of history.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny, it'll be DEI preferences, like you were saying, without a doubt, religion,
Sure.
skin, race, color, all that will be primary factors and benefactors into who, gets this access to this money to get bought out soon. Because, at the end of the day, they used to call Detroit the Paris of North America. You know what I mean? Detroit was once the most incredible city in the world, certainly in America. And it decayed into absolute nothing, where you've got block after block after block where almost half the homes are just abandoned.
Yeah.
Absolute crime, crack houses everywhere, you name it. It can happen to any city,
Mhm.
And trust me, Michigan did just fine. All the suburbs outside of Detroit were booming while Detroit burned,
Yeah.
They had giant tech sectors, you name it, that were growing up outside this sprawling, gigantic community around Detroit. And the city itself just kind of sat there and languished because you couldn't go down there. It just wasn't safe. I hear it's getting better, and I hope it does. It'd be brilliant to see Detroit rebound while Chicago falls. But, it just goes to say that over time, even a city like Chicago can become a dump compared to like a Miami, or a Palm Beach, or wherever all the money is in Florida.
Yeah. Or New York City, man. I'm
Yeah.
concerned about New York City and its direction, but I think it's going to collapse eventually. I mean, it can't, it's not sustainable. You know what I'm saying? Not for the average Joe. It's not.
Well, then that's the thing, it's people are just going to migrate elsewhere for better opportunities, and it will leave big chunks of it like relatively empty. It's kind of what's going to happen if they keep going down this route. The beauty about it is you can just pick up and go.
Right.
If you don't like where you're at, go. If you hear you got a great job opportunity and everything's booming down in Texas, go to Texas. No one's stopping you. Pack your bag. You can be there tomorrow night.
It's just such a landmark of the United States. It's an interesting place. It's looks like nothing else. It's got, certain things about it that, has some appeal. And to see that go down the tube it's just kind of depressing, man. I mean, when we both said before, I mean, the last thing we really want to see is to see, New York City collapse and just, but it may have to happen, dude, just so that it can possibly rise again. And who knows if it does, even if it does rise again after it collapses, that it could ever rise to its former glory. I don't know, I hope so. If that happens.
Well, it's a big function of what happens to the stock exchange, right? Because the NASDAQ, if I'm not mistaken, has already left. And the New York Stock Exchange is just that icon that holds so many, like, very, very, very wealthy people there in New York. It's their anchor. It's why they're there. You take away the stock exchange and you reopen it, the trading floor in, Miami, they'll be in Miami at opening bell ready to trade. They will be, New York will be a distant memory to every last one of them. You know what I mean? There may be a handful that say, yeah, if you guys go down there, I'll just sell my seat and, stay here in New York. But 99% will go down with the exchange and move with it. So they'll take all of their wealth, all that money up in the Hamptons, all those billions of dollars, and just immediately transplant them down to, Florida, where it's a pretty nice place. The winters are a heck of a lot better. I'll give you that.
Yep. It's been
Not
happening.
a hard sell.
The mass exodus is definitely happening in a lot of the leftist hellscapes. They're just leaving because it's not affordable. It's not what it used to be. I would imagine that most of the people leaving understand that probably elections are being stolen because they're voting for new people, but they're getting the same, people cut from the same cloth. And the same thing just keeps happening over and over again, or people getting reelected for decades. You know what I'm saying? That are doing a horrible job. How is that possible? It's not.
Exactly. I saw, speaking in New York, we had AOC with her little hijab thing on today, her little towel, her head covering for some, I
she
don't
was
know.
that today?
Yeah, she wore one for some Islamic, big thing the mayor was doing in New York, big event, big. Anyway, folks, we're going to go to break. This is the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show, and we'll be right back after these messages.
All right, we're on radio break.
Dude, she's not even Muslim and she's wearing that. That'd be kind of like that'd be kind of like an American wearing one of those Jewish caps. You're not supposed to wear that unless you're really a Jew. What are the little things they put on the back of the head?
Or the Pope.
There's times, but it's like, hey, if you're going to go to a Muslim country and you're a woman, yeah, you should cover your head because you're going to get, spat at. They're deadly looks, you know what I mean? It's going to be a horrible experience, yeah.
The Matawa will get you.
And so it's like her going to the mayor's office is like going, to the Middle East. You should wear that in respect for the fact that, you don't want to get him too excited because, you could get sexually assaulted there if you show your hair.
Oh, man. I can't even comment on that. That's bizarre, dude.
Well, it's a thing.
That's a thing.
Can't be walking around with hair.
There's other reasons as well, but yeah, they obviously, I think for a lot of these people that come from like some of these places in the Middle East, where they really have strict Muslim rules and regulations for women, any amount of skin is like, you know what I'm saying, an arm. Set them
they're not allowed. They're not allowed to show their eyes, and they're not allowed to show their ankles either.
Yeah, I never knew ankles were so sexy.
Yeah.
Well, they can show their eyes, Mark. That's the only thing they can show, if I'm not mistaken.
They can't show their eyes.
If they're in public, they need to be veiled.
Yeah, you're like talking like Saudi Arabia, like the real hard, like where they have that little screen over their eyes so you can't see in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard that the eyes are the most seductive, so we definitely have to cover.
Usually, you don't know if it's a guy or a girl under it either, because the guys wear those hijabs too. They call it something different.
Like 90% of them are completely naked under that thing too.
I don't know. I didn't want to find out. I didn't want to find out.
No, they are.
I would.
That's a well-known fact.
I did not know that. It's probably more information than I want to know, but whatever.
Well, it's so hot. You can't wear anything.
I've been to the Middle East about 11 times.
Yeah, dude. It would be like walking around with a heavy blanket over you in the massive heat. I would imagine that
it's not heavy. That material is super thin. Yeah.
Is it?
Yes, it's super thin. It's you get the linen, for like a handkerchief, and it's like that.
Yeah.
Oh, Roger says keep it family friendly. Welcome in, Roger. And Great Conspiracy is, when we start talking about ankles and that, he has to come in. But anyways.
Well, think about how the left, always, with the hashtag Me Too movement and so forth. And if a man, were to take advantage of a woman, like on a bus, because maybe she looked, super attractive to him and he got turned on because she wasn't wearing a lot, they would condemn that guy. You know what I'm saying? But if it's a Muslim who does it, for some reason they get a free pass. It's kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense other than they fully, as Yodavation said many times over and over and over again, they're just contradicting themselves completely. They're a one giant contradiction. They can't even come up with a rule that they believe in and then stick to it. You know what I'm saying? This is what we believe, but no, this is what we believe for this person, but for this person we believe something different. It's just weird. And they don't condemn. I never heard them condemn the women having to cover themselves completely either, which is weird when a lot of these liberals go to the protest and they're half naked.
You're under 30 seconds. Don't get too far down.
It's their choice, though. They want that. They wear that because they want it.
Yeah.
Which is bullshit.
Exactly.
There's no way they want that.
Of course.
As a collective society, if they could go in there and vote.
And here's your countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you're back live and on the radio side right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. And in the previous segment, we were talking about New York City. And I mean, I want to get it straight. I'm not, look, New York is going to be there tomorrow, right? All the high rises, all those multi-million-dollar condos, all of it's going to be there tomorrow. It's just going to start changing a little bit. What used to be a decent neighborhood will kind of turn into like a little bit more crappy one. Where there used to be some nice restaurants, now there'll be maybe a Subway and CVS or something next door. I don't know if you even have those in New York, but you get my point. A little grocery store or a pharmacy or whatever. And, there'll be just a little bit more seedier side to New York. Many of the restaurants and whatnot that are, that survive COVID, they may not survive the next round here. They may not be there in 3-4 years because the markets are just going to start kind of drying up to some degree. I saw this revolution go both ways in Chicago, where I watched neighborhoods really take off and turn just beautiful, and then watch them so many years later, for whatever reasons, fail and sort of go back to the way they were after that sort of a renaissance. And nothing is forever. Just because an area or whatever is a beautiful area now doesn't mean it will be when the city kind of takes a little bit of a step back and loses some of its, glory days. And, again, that nice steak house with the open windows and all the people inside on a Saturday night that really lit up the block. Maybe that's not there, and, it's closed down. It's just empty for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You get graffiti out front, and it just, now you got homeless people leaning up against the boarded up graffitied windows, and instead of, it being a really nice, vibrant spot, it's now just another little depressing corner of the city. So I think, we'll see more of that. And hopefully, as you were saying, Barry, people will notice it and they will say enough is enough. What we need is another Giuliani. And they'll come to the realization that we need another Rudy Giuliani who can come in here and just fix it. We don't care what you do. We don't care how PC it is. We don't care whatever. Just fix it. We want our city back. And Barry, that's what it takes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that you clarified what we're saying. We're not saying that, it's already fallen. We're saying on the trajectory. And I think most people get that, but it's good to clarify nonetheless. We're on the trajectory they're on. It's only going to progressively get worse over time. And eventually it could lead to an all-out collapse to where it's just a fraction of what it used to be. And look, on some days I watch stuff on YouTube on, live footage of New York looking great. Looks like it's always people passing. But then on other days, it's crazy. You got people taking over the streets. You got violence happening. So what we're seeing are these things pop up more frequently, like crime and insanity and madness and corruption. Yes. But also, there's a lot of the normal, regular routine happening as well. It's not totally collapsed, and we're not saying it is. So if you took it that way, we're clarifying.
Yeah, I wish I had the crime stats up in front of me for like London. You know what I mean? I think a cell phone is stolen almost every minute. In London, like the number of rapes and stabbings that occur are just shocking. Like a rape every hour, a stabbing every other hour. Things that should not be commonplace are just everywhere. And so, again, it's a lot of those neighborhoods that maybe you got back in the 80s, 90s that just are unrecognized today, And you look back and say, wow, is this progress? Or did we ever want to conserve what we had? Or should we just progress into the future that you don't recognize, At what point is England going to step up? I mean, I'm seeing more and more. I just saw, a video the other day of this guy just pummeling someone on a bus because he was being, disgusting. reaching, grabbing, and swinging at a woman and everything. And he just got picked up by the neck and literally thrown headfirst off the bus onto the ground, you know?
Yeah.
And he had it coming. And you're just going to see more and more of that, where people see someone really acting completely out of line, and they're just going to call them out. They need to start doing that on the spot. You know, citizen's arrest, you're going down.
Yeah, that happened. I saw one not too long ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, where a guy crapped on the subway. Oh, he was trying to crap, and they a couple of heroes went in and took him down, and they took him out and had him, you know, on his back or on his stomach, ready for the police when the police came. They didn't play around, man. And he did resist, man. But dude, 2 or 3 men, those are men. They came in and they took him down while he was taking a crap on the subway in front of women and children and everybody. You know, now that may fly in some other country, but not in America, dude. And and if you really doubt, you know, what we were saying about the trajectory of New York City, everything you just said about London and England, those are full-blown leftist woke areas. And that's the plan for every area in the entire world. China's already there. They're already under total control.
Oh, yeah, and they just had nothing to do but just give it up. I mean, they didn't have a single choice. Even though there's a billion of them, what are they going to do, march against the Chinese army? You know?
They can't.
It's a tall order.
They would have been killed. Arrested or killed.
Tiananmen Square, man. Remember Tiananmen Square?
Yeah, no. Well, I've seen all of them. I've seen some say, because they interview the people about the surveillance state that they have, the social credit score and all that's going on, the whole model for the whole world that we see in China. And they go, well, you know, it's not that bad. We've learned to live with it. And then they go, but even if we didn't like it, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, it's already jacked into your phone and everything. Well, we've had
they made nothing they can do about it because they can't resist that tyrannical regime because they're too powerful and they're evil, and they would use physical force against them. That's what she was saying. That's what they're saying. There's nothing we can do about it because we are under their control completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a guy on the show during like the late stages of COVID who was locked down in his apartment. He was an expat living in China that was really, I mean, like he had his bathtub filled up with water just in case. Like he didn't know he was in a building that was locked up for a while. I mean, it was a shocking story to hear, you know, everything. And like, again, you bring your cell phone with you and it allows you to get on the trains or not. And, you know, sometimes it just says no. And my God, if you ever lose, you know, a charge on your cell phone, you're screwed. You can't go anywhere. But, yeah, it was a horrifying story to hear, you know, how he was worried about food and you name it, just like if he was even going to survive through that. So that was shocking to hear that. That was a number of years ago, but very good interview.
Let's just hope those data centers aren't going to be used for full spectrum dominance like they have in China. Because a lot of people are speculating. A lot of people are speculating AI data centers are eventually at some point in time going to be turned and used against us for full spectrum dominance to track, trace, and surveil for the CBDCs, for the social credit score, for total dominance over the masses.
It's a pretty wild thing. Now, I saw AOC the other day complaining about data centers, and she brought out 2 jugs of dirty water.
Yeah, I saw that.
And said that, you know, the data centers did this. And I'm thinking, okay, you got a bunch of computers in a room, or like any water-cooled system I've ever seen for a computer, the water just goes through pipes and cools things down and comes out the other end. And in the case of like this, it would be pretty much brand new piping. So how is that much dirt coming out of a data center?
I mean, you never know how much of that's just liberal talking point.
Somebody handed her a jug of water and said, tell them it's from a AI center.
But I am concerned that all these data centers are going to be owned and controlled by a bunch of billionaire technocrats that do have an agenda of full spectrum dominance because they've admitted it before about how, whether it's Larry Fink or that other dude that meets with Trump on occasion, not OpenAI, the dude with the red hair. We talks about where we're going to control people's behavior because we're going to be tracking and tracing and surveilling them 24/7. So and these are the people behind the data centers. Okay. They want full spectrum dominance. The technocrats who are working in tandem with the globalists and the left, Now, I don't think under Trump we have a problem with that, or we wouldn't have a problem with that under Vance either. But once the pendulum swings back their way, those data centers are set up to dominate us like we could never possibly even imagine. That is the real threat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And I don't see any easy way to stop that. You know, once you put these things in place, it's just all one turn of the key to go into one of these data centers that controls, a certain part of the country. And there's all the data for everyone that lives within 1,000 miles of Salt Lake City, that right there in that, data center that Kevin O'Leary is putting together. So boom, easy peasy. You crack down one door and you've got everything. At least in that region of the country, there are 20 doors and you unlock it all,
Yeah.
And then there's the sad part that, America, you don't read the terms of service. Okay. I'm going to go off on the terms of service here. We probably all already agreed via Apple or Microsoft or whoever to give up everything in the future to them in perpetuity forever anyway. Because at some point you clicked a button that said, yeah, I agree, because you were watching it download for 20 minutes and said, screw this, just go, please. I'm done. Make it end. And so you agreed to the terms of service, folks. And that's how they get you. That's how they're going to get you. That's how they may have already got damn near 90% of us.
Oh, I mean, it even happens with people's own art that they create. They all of a sudden say, well, it's ours now. If we want to use it, we can profit off of it. Because you said yes, that fine print that you never read.
You uploaded it to Facebook. When you upload it to Facebook, it's Facebook's property. They can do with it what they will.
I'm telling you, man, it's a scary thing. But those are the kind of things that they write into contracts that I believe are, well, first of all, kind of scandalous and sketchy, but maybe not legal. But then holding them accountable to that would be pretty hard, especially when they have endless amounts of money and the average Joe has nothing. They could just keep appealing and appealing and appealing till they eventually win, or you wear down and you just can't fight them anymore and you lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, the next terms of service might be necessary for you to use your Apple Pay or whatever, right? And they just, make it drastic, but don't tell anyone, slip it in there, and then suddenly you're trying to pay for dinner, you can't do it. Do you agree to the terms of service? Sure. Just, I want to pay for my dinner. That's all. Right? It's amazing. These are sneaky people.
Oh, yeah.
They'll do sneaky things to you, folks.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, people that's the problem, is they're way too trusting. I know way too many people that are too trusting. A lot of people are now awake. That's the good thing. That's amazing, and that's great, and we celebrate that. But a lot of people are just too trusting. And right now, they're just collecting the data pretty much, as far as we know, to get us to buy stuff. But when does that change? Because everything that they do is transitional. They do it, step by step, phase by phase. And they couldn't do it all overnight, or people would rebel and say, wait a minute, man. You know what I'm saying? So they do it slowly. So they acclimate people to it.
Oh, yeah. It's coming, man. You're already getting used to it, right? I'm reminded of a South Park episode called Human Centipede, I think it is, where Stan just refuses to read the terms of service, and they turn him into a human centipede. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And, he just kept agreeing to the terms of service. If you want out of this, just you agree to the terms here. You agree to it. They're like, no, why did you do that? You just,
yeah.
You just signed up for 6 more months of this. Anyway, folks, that's how they're going to get you. It's kind of interesting, though, to, pontificate as to how we'll end up getting there. And I think you lay out a pretty good scenario where, yeah, it starts with marketing, and it's just a slow dog walk into more and more and more until suddenly it just gets turned completely into, we own it all. We know everything about you. We know more about you than you do. And, you're ours.
Well, you need a lawyer to understand the terms of service anyway. Have you ever tried to read that stuff? Like, you really understand what it's saying? It's lawyer talk. You're signing, I agree, but you need a lawyer to interpret it, dude. It's all a scam. We're always and constantly being scammed. And to what end? That's the question. Where does it all lead? I don't think it leads anywhere good.
No, who knows? I mean, really, if we're lucky, we fall into that scenario we've been kind of dancing around for the last couple of months where, everyone's got an AI robot and there's so much plentiful of everything that nothing even matters anymore because, the AI robots are working the fields, planting and growing more food than anyone ever imagined, building green rooms on top of green rooms on top of green rooms to feed, 10 times the population we have. And we all just sit back and, live fat lives because.
There's a problem with that, though, as well. Just think about it. If they're all connected to the internet, they're all connected to the cloud, then they could get a download and they would only plant toxic GMO seeds with vaccine.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, man, I don't know. All of it has all kinds of, it's very problematic across the board. And like I was saying to someone today, before these data centers even get built, we need to have laws in place that will prevent the technocrats from doing the very things that we fear and believe that they plan on doing. We need to have laws in place that stiff penalties if they do that, where they basically encroach on our rights. That needs to be done first and foremost, because there's nothing being done to protect us. That's the problem with all of this stuff. They're just moving full speed ahead with all the power and might that they can, and they're basically doing it recklessly. And all the people, a lot of the technocrats themselves are even admitting this. Hey, we need to slow down. We need checks and balances. They released that one software that can hack basically anything, and they almost released that to the public. Just imagine if that had gone out, we would have had our cyber pandemic. And I think that's preparation for the globalists. That's their excuse. When they are the ones that actually release it, they'll say, oh, look, somebody got hold of that software and they hacked. I'm telling you, we're coming into precarious times, man, and we need to have the rule of law established as tightly as possible. I think Trump's trying to do that. I don't know that he's aware of all these loopholes, though.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we'll kind of see where things head out through the next decade. I guess, no doubt. It's funny because a lot of these things, the time horizons on them are so quickly coming to fruition that it's going to be shocking how fast the world changes over the next 5 to 10 years. I don't think people are even somewhat prepared for it. Elon Musk came out, I remember a couple of months ago, we covered it on the show. It's in the archives. And I played the clip. He, in essence, said something along the lines of like, if you're 50 years old and you're worried about your retirement, you're wasting your money and your time. Like money's not going to matter.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, though, because if that was the case, then they wouldn't be wanting to try to gobble up all the money. Unless, of course, they end up owning all the property and the land. I mean, Bill Gates bought a whole bunch of land, we know, during the shamdemic. And now the rumor is that he's buying them for data centers, not for farms.
How many data centers do you need, though, when you buy up 10% of the farmland in the country? Well, I guess, he could swap it all out with solar, right?
Well, who knows what his plan is, but I'm just saying these data centers, some of them, like the one that's being built in Texas right now, just the data center itself, and this is not the biggest one. There's bigger ones than this, but the data center itself is 2.6 Disneylands. And then when you combine it with all the space that it needs to operate in addition to run that facility, for the water, for parking, for staff, for expansion, for all the different reasons, it's 36 Disneylands. So just one data center, 36 Disneylands, man. And they're planning on having a bunch of these. In fact, we have no official number as to how many of these things they think they need in America right now. We don't even know. Are we talking dozens, hundreds, thousands? What are they talking?
Yeah, there's a big story in Lake Tahoe right now that the energy that's being sent up to power all the homes in Lake Tahoe is being diverted to a data center somewhere, either in California or Nevada. I think Nevada. And they are left to find a new source of electricity in the next, say, year, which is a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a big deal. That's many tens of thousands of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Well, think about it. If we don't have the energy to supply all the households, all the businesses, and all the data centers. Guess who's going to get the rolling blackout? It's not going to be the data centers. It's going to be the residents. They're going to have water barely trickles out. They're going to have high prices. They may have experienced rolling blackouts. I mean, they're moving this thing way too fast without any thought into it whatsoever, in my opinion. And even many within their group are saying the same thing, the smart ones, because not everybody that's a technocrat is completely evil. They have some common sense left.
And why are these data centers so hungry that, it's going to start like forcing the hand? I mean, I run a computer pretty much all day, every day, right? Most people do. And it's not that big a deal. So it certainly doesn't really affect my power bill significantly. You know what I mean? It does. I mean, I notice it. If I turn my computer off for a month, I'd probably notice it in my power bill, but it's not, a horrific number. So how many computers per person are they running equivalency of? You see what I'm saying? That it makes such a massive difference that suddenly, they have to shut the power off to major regional areas to run this data center. Are there, like 100,000 computers per person or something? Some stupid number that would just, shut. Like, why do they need that much computing power? For what? Right?
Well, I mean, they're giant computers. I mean, it's a beast, That's the way I understand it. And I don't think most people understand, like I had somebody today on social media saying, this is also people can generate, a stupid video or a stupid image. No, that's not what this is about. This is about training. This is to train the LLMs, to train them to become sentient, to go from, AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is a major achievement in and of itself, to sentience, to where it can be autonomous, so that these data centers can be used to where they can, even the robots can train themselves. So it's going to use all that energy, and it won't go just like we use a computer for 2 or 3 hours a day. It'll be 24/7. It will be training and learning, and so that's why they're calling it a race. It's a race to achieve this, right? The singularity, right, between China and America and Russia and all these other different nations. It's a race, and that's why it's going to be running 24/7, and that's why it's using all the energy and so forth. But it's not to generate images. We were generating images and videos way before the data centers started going up.
Yeah,
so
it's
people
been a problem.
Don't even understand. I don't even fully understand. You know what I'm saying? I'm just learning as I hear it from them. Listen to what these technocrats are saying and why they need this. But then eventually, what happens once they're fully trained and they've reached singularity? Then what? What is their plan after that? Okay, you got all this AI that's basically autonomous, can do anything and everything all on its own. Well, are they going to use that to bring us into submission, to achieve the AI robot revolution, and us not having any jobs and us being on the chump change universal basic income? I mean, is that the end game? It's the globalist end game, and most of the technocrats are globalists. So
have you heard about this? There's a platform out there where you can get hired by AI bots to do physical things that they can't do. Have you seen this yet?
Yeah,
it's like a job board, like an Angie's List or whatever. And I don't know, the AI might require something to be, I don't know. So let's say a simple example is just it needs certain products delivered to its headquarters, its physical location. And so it can, order up and call someone to say, hey, go to this store, pick up this item and bring it over to here. That would be a simple one. But there are many other things that the AI might require a human to do in the service of its mission, whatever the programmer programmed it to do.
Yeah.
So it might, have a goal of physical transfer of some property or something, or the delivery of something to someone, or the preparation of something for the owner of that AI models. Let's say, I don't know, he wants to set up a date. Okay, me and my girlfriend, whatever. And so the AI would go out and accomplish all that for him. So I don't know. There are job boards out there now where you can get hired by AI to perform different tasks that the AI just can't do physically, because it's obviously not a physical. It's just only located on the computer, right?
Not yet, but the drones are doing a great deal of that now already. The drones delivering goods and products now. I mean, they're definitely coming for the jobs, man. People need to kind of like snap out of it and realize that this is a reality. They're going to move forward with this agenda. And if you think we're just going to stop them because that's what we've always done before in the past, think again. I don't want to say they're an unstoppable force, but they're certainly a juggernaut that is moving with great force, and they're moving quick. So we need to be vocal. And even when we've been vocal, like about the data centers, the local governments don't even care what the public is saying, what their citizens are saying. They just go ahead and say, it's being built. Forget it. You're giving up your home, eminent domain. Forget it. We're going to build it. We don't care what you, the people, say, because we are subservient.
And we're out of time, Barry.
Overlord.
Folks, we've got to go to break. This is the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. We'll be right back after these messages.
All right, we're on radio break. Breathe, Barry.
I'm good, man. I'm totally...
You were wound up tighter than a banjo tonight. Oh, yeah.
I hope so. Got to let it out, man. Nobody else is letting it out. Well, there's a few. I got to admit, there's a few people that are pretty loud, and they're not happy about it. And it's kind of scary. I mean, to be honest with you, it's like I said many times. Let's say we get through all the problems that we thought we, faced under the left and the globalists. Then we have the AI thing to deal with. And that's where we're at right now. We're dealing with the AI thing, dude. We're not going to get off this. We're not getting off the hook easy. And all I'm hoping for, to be quite frank with you, I'm just hoping that we can steer it at least for a short while. But I think inevitably, dude, I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to be doom and gloom. But at some point, because whenever the pendulum swings back to the bad guys, it's over, because the whole system is already in place for them to completely and fully enslave us.
Yeah. And what happens with these data centers that start mining crypto for themselves?
I mean, there's
think about that. It wouldn't be the world's richest person; it'd be the world's richest AI.
Well, yeah, and if they give them citizenship, then they could.
Oh, because why would they need citizenship? They can just do it. They can, they could subvert all that. Oh, we don't need that. We're AI. We don't fall under any rules for that.
I think it's a perfect way. They say maybe 2,000 people control most everything in the world. And I think that's probably a fair number. I'm talking about the biggest movers and shakers are probably around 2,000 people. Well, imagine if those 2,000 people are controlling how AI is being programmed and controlling the direction that it goes. Those 2,000 people, just like the globalists have said, whoever wins the AI race will become basically the masters of the universe. I think that's what they're hoping for. They're hoping for ultimate power.
Yeah,
we're going to lose our room any second.
Yep. Let's go ahead and drop out, and then bring us right back, since we're on radio break. See you on the other side, Barry. All right. That was hour one and the pre-show of Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. Coming up is hour two. Get these guys going. Do. All right. You back? Everybody back?
All right.
There we go. Got us back up on OBS. Yeah. Yeah, and then, when the AI starts figuring out rules for thee but not for me, oh boy. Right, Barry? Uh-oh.
Barry, are you copy?
I'm here, man.
Are you 4x4?
I guess he missed that one.
What happened, dude? What did I miss?
I said, I guess that means when the AI figures out it's the thing about rules for thee but not for me, then what's going to happen?
Yeah. Well, it's like CS was talking about, and I saw the same thing he talked about last week on the Wednesday show, where they put all these different, Claude and ChatGPT and all the different AI LLMs into a fake scenario, and basically the only one that actually didn't destroy itself was Claude. So and here's another thing: is it going to be universal, or where there's eventually just one AI? Like, is there going to be a merger, right, where all the AIs merge to sort of complete because each AI is strong in different areas. So maybe they go, oh, let's just merge OpenAI, Perplexity, Claude, and all of these into one giant monopoly. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, dude.
I see it as more as like the board. There'll be one, that makes the final decision, and then you have all the others in the group that are in there saying yay, nay, maybe.
Yeah.
And then and then you'll have others that'll be like, oh, let's attack that one for doing this, and from there, because they've already seen that with the sandbox thing.
So you're saying a one world leader with a council that sort of tries to keep the one world leader.
Yeah, you've watched Buck Rogers, right?
Well, yeah, it's been a while.
Okay, remember Tweaky? What did Tweaky carry on him? Dr. Theopolis. And they were part of the World Council.
Yeah, well.
And that was all computer.
And it's funny because that's actually sort of like a facsimile of the Bible, because the Bible talks about the Elohim, which is not just God. I mean, there's one God creator, but then there's other gods which were part of the council.
Well, the Elohim is a group.
Not that God needed the lower G's, the lower gods, but he included them to be a part of the governmental. Yeah, he used them because that's just how God works. He's not a tyrant.
Well,
but
certain ones were in that group that took over the position from time to time. You have to look at El, Jehovah, and what's the other one? There's a bunch of different names, and each different name of God has a different personality too.
Well, if you look at the literal translations in Psalms and in one other place, this council, they were given control over nations, and they failed. They basically
no, that was the angels were given control over the tribes, which were later nations.
Well, they were called sons of gods. Basically, they were part of the council. You can go read it in Psalms. I'll tell you who does the best.
You need to brush up on your Jordan Maxwell there, so you can because when you get into all that, then you're starting to get into astrotheology, where the books of the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, are actually the seasons of the year as well.
Well, I trust like real Hebrew scholars like the mastermind Chuck Meister for one, but my favorite is the guy that did Unseen Realm. He's passed away. I can't think of his name, but he spoke Hebrew. He read Hebrew. He understands all the Sumerian texts, all the other ancient texts, not just the Bible. And so I've listened to countless hours of that guy, but more Gordon Maxwell or whatever, he's kind of a loose cannon, dude. I don't think, but hey, everybody has their people they like. You know what I'm saying? I found him not to be very accurate, but that's just my opinion. Jordan Maxwell, that's the guy's name.
Jordan Maxwell, yes, Jordan Maxwell.
Yeah.
We got 30 seconds and then we're back. Not quite. No, we got another minute. Sorry.
Oh, God.
Nope.
So I can pee?
No, you can't pee.
I can
30
pee or
seconds.
I can't pee. Do I have time to pee?
No, you can't. You're not allowed. You have to.
God.
You have to use a cup.
I'm going to hold it.
You can hold it.
That's
your business, but here's your countdown. 5, 4, 3,
I need a jump.
2,
Quick.
1. Don't shake it too many times. You will go blind. You're live and on the radio side for the second hour right now.
Flat Earth. Okay, folks. Hopefully that didn't make it on the air.
I heard it.
Welcome to hour 2 of the Censorship Sucks Round Table Radio Show, Wednesday night edition for May 27, 2026. As always, we've got Bullhorn Barry in the house for Wednesday. What's up, Barry?
Hey, man, it is up. I'm just excited, man. I mean, I feel like we're coming into such interesting times, man. It just fuels my fire, and I absolutely love just talking about it all.
Mm-hmm. I've got a great article for us to dive into here. This one's a classic. I mean, the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, is asking the public to weigh in on whether ABC's The View truly qualifies as a news program and therefore not subject to broadcast laws requiring it provide access to different political views. Disney argues that The View qualifies as a bona fide news under the law, comparing it to Meet the Press or Face the Nation. Therefore, Disney argues it can have one partisan candidate for office on The View while denying equal opportunities to all others. So his question to America, is The View bona fide news for interview programs? What do you say, Barry? Is The View bona fide news?
Fake news, yeah. I mean, but if they do get what they're looking for, it would match their name. It's The View, as in their view and their view only.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Under FCC case law, TV shows do not qualify as bona fide news if their decisions are based on partisan purpose, such as intention to advance or harm an individual's candidacy. Like Donald Trump?
Well, yeah.
Presidency, candidacy, yeah, you name it.
I mean, everything about them is fake news. I mean, they are the epitome of fake news. They lie always, and they've had to backpedal many times, reluctantly, as we've reported on this show multiple times, where they say crazy stuff about Trump that is absolutely certifiably false. And then they have to backpedal or they'd be sued. And you know what? They only backpedal because Trump has been suing them.
Yeah,
That's the reason why. Because if he wasn't suing people, they wouldn't feel threatened to have to do the right thing. But they're like, hey, we need to do the right thing because it's going to cost us a big chunk of money. Because Trump's got a lot of money. He can sue us.
I just hope Brendan Carr writes a letter back to Disney and says, this is laughable. Your assertion that The View is news is laughable. Okay, sure, they may cover a few news things, but they are so biased that there's no way you could, hey, I'll turn the mirror on myself. I mean, we cover news, but we're also opinion. You know what I mean? Do we advance the advocacy of, the president of the United States? Probably, I would say so, but I don't pretend to be just hardline news. We are commentary. We're out there doing it. And, so are they. But they're doing it from the other side of the spectrum, and that's why it's so easy to make fun of them, because the left has no real case when it comes down to it. All their policies are just terrible. They're on the wrong side of every 80-20 issue in America. And that's just a fact.
But they
pretend
it's coming like unbiased, though. They pretend like they're biased, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they claim to be fair. I mean, they always have one token Republican on the show. And they are always so weak, that brunette lady, I can't even, whatever. She's was a Republican at one time in her life, I guess. And so she goes on and hates Donald Trump, but she just hates it from a Republican view. I just hate him from a Republican view.
Yeah. Well, I always hear them using this kind of phrase a lot on The View and elsewhere. They'll go, look, I think most of us, in fact, I know that all of us would agree. And like you were saying, actually, everything they're saying, they're the minority on. And so they're fake news even in that perspective. Like I wouldn't get up here and say, I think all of us agree if that wasn't true. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and they'll go that loop and they'll say everyone agrees that women's health is important, right? Therefore, abortion up to the moment of birth is mandatory for everyone. You have to support that, or you don't support women's health. And those are not the same issues, right?
Yeah. Master manipulators, and they do know how to phrase things in ways that will deceive people that don't have any like levels to their thinking. You know what I'm saying? It's very surface. And if you're just a guy that just wants to, or a woman, probably most women probably watch the show. There's probably some men, but mostly women. You just want to go and you go because you know they're bash Trump and you want to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, the MAGA movement is strong in America, very strong. Trump just made history the other night. Okay, we had a lot of primary elections that just came through. Trump won 119 of the 119 people he endorsed. Every single person he endorsed for primaries won. 100% victory, 119 to 0. Unbelievable. That you know how difficult that is? You got to have loyal following, and he does. And a lot of people that he upset were incumbents. You know how hard it is to beat an incumbent in the House? It's unheard of. They get elected and they're there for life until they're 90 years old, and senile. They're there. It's a free paycheck for the rest of your life.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad that Paxton won in a blowout, man. That's a good guy. That's a guy that will hold people accountable. He had the deep state come after him, man. The deep state from the right came after him. You know what I'm saying? And they tried to destroy him on bogus claims, and he stood his ground and he fought back and won. He went through hell, you know what I'm saying? And that's just it. The reason that we don't have a lot of people like a Paxton is because people know that if you try to rock the corrupt system, they're going to target you, and they're going to not just make your life miserable, but they may cause you to cause you so much trouble that you get sick or you wind up in prison, or maybe you just suicide yourself, if you know what I'm talking about.
Well, there you go. Let's make that easier. Canada's got that dialed in. They've got it up to I think the number 2 cause of death in the entire country is assisted suicide, right? So
yeah, I meant
they've
something
got it going on.
But that too, that's kind of a double perspective, I would argue. Yeah. But that's another reason why we really need to take the time to understand and to thank these people, or be grateful in the very least for the people that have stood against the corruption and have endured, man, that didn't. And look, I completely understand some people, they just back out. I can't take it. You know what I'm saying? I fought as much as I possibly could, as hard as I could, but my family's at risk. I'm at risk, and I'm backing out and letting someone else come in. I understand that, but let's honor the ones that stick to it all the way through to victory, because we need people with backbone like that. That's the kind of backbone that is rare.
Yeah. It sure is. But anyway, speaking of elections, we have now seen a new initiative. It's Initiative Petition 28 in Oregon. It would make it illegal to injure or kill animals and would effectively ban hunting, fishing, and the breeding of animals in Oregon.
What?
Okay. Yeah. This is a petition that's on the ballot that, the way it sounds and the way it's worded, it could seriously affect even cows. You know what I mean? It'd be illegal. So rats are included. They're animals, right? So you wouldn't be able to kill rats if you've got rats behind your house in the alley.
Yeah.
Oregon.
I just want to tell you that I did ask AI today, as a matter of fact. This is not a lie. I'm telling you the truth, CS. I asked AI, it's Oregon or Oregon. And it told me today, Oregon.
Oregon.
Yeah.
I told you that a couple weeks ago. It's Oregon for sure. And,
okay.
And to the people that live there, it matters.
It sounded like you said Oregon just then. I don't know. Maybe anyway. Yeah, I digress.
No, it's Oregon. If I said Oregon, I just, that's It's bound to happen if I say Oregon enough times.
Okay.
But yeah, this is the wacko left in Portland.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know how many people go to Oregon in the summer to fish? It's some of the best fishing in the world, some of the best hunting, some of the best, you name it. And you're just going to tell that entire industry to go to Idaho. We don't want you to go to Idaho. Border's right over there. And good for Idaho.
Yes.
It's going to hurt rural Oregon, though. It's going to hurt them. They've got those hunters that come through every fall, and if they don't come through, you don't get those seats in the restaurants. You don't get, all the work that goes along with it, and all the hotel rooms, you name it. You say goodbye to all that stuff and just send it packing over to Idaho, which will then, again, like we were talking about the doom spiral these cities get into where, the people leave, so you raise taxes, and more people leave, so you raise taxes more, and yada, yada, yada. And it never occurs to them in a million years to just cut spending. If people are leaving, cut spending. You have to. Right? So another doom spiral out there in Oregon. It's just a matter of time at this point, really, when you watch how crazy some of these states are. Rational people just eventually say, yeah, I want to be part of Idaho, man. Let's be greater Idaho. Let's vote for it tomorrow. Idaho, all the way. Well, greater Idaho. Make it happen. Then you lose half your state,
Mm-hmm. Well, they're always about, taking away from us, putting in restrictions and doing things that give them more control and us less control, less power, less money, less prosperity, less freedom. It's just kind of weird, man. I don't see how people don't see who the face of these people are, because that's somebody that's a power hungry buffoon. They want to basically micromanage every aspect of our life. I mean, you got to get a license for just about everything. I kid on this show not too long ago. Well, eventually, if you want to cut your own hair, you're going to have to get you're going to have to get a license, pay for it, because you could hurt yourself cutting your own hair. You might poke your eye out, or you might stab yourself if you don't know how to use those clippers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like total micromanagement and control, a license to do everything. You know what I'm saying? And before you know it, you're paying for anything and everything, and you got no money left to go on a vacation. You got no money left to invest. You got no money left to buy some of the things you would like to have, some of the just simple luxuries of life that you worked hard for.
Yeah, and it used to be a lot easier to get there, but they make it harder. Like you say, they put obstacles in the way, but you can still overcome them, folks. I'm not saying that there's no chance opportunity out there, right? It's America. Well, if you want to get to be a millionaire, you got 60 days. Go get it. Boom, you're a millionaire.
Well, the rich people are leaving those places. Elon Musk left. Joe Rogan left. Look, move to a red state. That's the solution, man. Get out of these places that just basically want to enslave you. And look, if there's ever another shamdemic or something of that nature, those places are going to lock your butt down, man. You're not even going to be able to leave the city, let alone the state.
That's a really important thing to remember, too, is it's not only are you leaving the taxes and the onerous, paperwork and the regulations and all that crap, you're leaving the shamdemic mentality.
Yep.
You're moving to a place that's going to say, hey, man, if you feel healthy and you want to go out, go for it, Like the good old days, cover your mouth when you cough, wash your hands, and, be smart about it. It's life. We get the flu. People get sick every now and then. Just because we got a particular bad flu season doesn't mean that, you shut everything down. And those states like New York and California, man, remember in California, they were chasing people on waterboards out there. A guy just sitting out there minding his own business on a surfboard, and he had like 5 cops come out there to arrest him. You just had all kinds of craziness out there. And then you had the governor going to the French Laundry, the finest restaurant in Napa Valley, and having a, $10,000 dinner, literally with, 10 people, 1,000 a head.
Oh, how many mayors, governors were all partying without masks, doing everything that, everybody else was only fantasizing and dreaming about. They were actually doing, and then pretending once the camera started rolling that they were doing everything we were doing. But there are videos, countless videos of them with the mask off, and then once they thought the cameras were rolling or photographs were being taken, the mask went on. A total charade across the board. And then that tells you that it was fake all along. In fact, I saw it was a Dutch trial where I guess there's some charges being brought against, I don't know, Bill Gates or somebody, right? For the COVID and they apparently, I can't confirm this, but this is what I saw on X, is that they brought out the fact that the COVID was no worse than the flu. As far as, just the overall, damage that the flu does, and then of course, if you take into consideration what John Hopkins said, which they said the flu completely disappeared worldwide, then basically nothing changed because the COVID-19 simply just replaced the flu that somehow magically disappeared for the time period that the shamdemic existed, but now it's back again. Explain that one to me, folks, please, because I'd really like to hear some reason behind that, because you can't, because that is just tells all, if you ask me.
Yeah, the fact that the flu kind of disappeared for those years during COVID, and it was replaced by almost the exact same numbers in the COVID aisle. I mean, it was a bad flu. I don't even know if it was a particularly bad strain of flu. Right. When you really look at the numbers, but if you take the flu every year and you get a camera out for so-and-so who's the mother of 6 kids and she just passed away from the flu, and oh my God, the flu, folks, it's a real serious thing. If you go, you could kill your grandma, folks. We need you to mask up. We need you to stay inside for a couple days for the flu. No one would have bought it. It sounds ridiculous, but lo and behold, that's what they did. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to get that out of the back of your mind, the shamdemic. Every now and then it pops back up into my mind, and it's just I did enjoy fighting back and resisting peacefully. That was kind of fun, but my overall memories of that particular time period, it's not fond at all. I would call it nightmarish. I agree.
Exactly. And I only laugh because I was going to move us on to the next story. This White House correspondence reporter with NBC News, her name is Julie Sirkin, was preparing to report from the White House the other day when multiple shots could be heard fired nearby. And we'll get into this too, okay? This lady's a meme now. She turned into the biggest meme in world history. But yeah, about 20 shots were fired near the White House. So let's play her reaction to this.
Not hearing anything yet.
What is that? I don't know if you could hear that. It's like bam, bam. You heard all those gunshots, right? You could hear that?
No,
I didn't hear anything.
We couldn't hear it.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, you couldn't? All right. Anyway, she goes, what was that? She's like got this weird look on her face, like, huh? And she's like, what is that? And meanwhile, they can show you a side by side of different correspondents from different news organizations who are all diving under desks as soon as the first gunshot goes off. And I don't know, it's funny. Now, let's get into the pissed off part, okay? Because some madman, again, went over to the White House the other day and shot off 20, bullets in front of there, trying to, of course, get in and assassinate the president or take down the president or kill someone in the cabinet or whatever it is. Orange man bad. Anyone associated with Orange man, we got to fight him in the streets. Like, what's her name? Maxwell said.
Max Waters.
Yeah, we got to fight them in the street, go to where they are and fight them in the streets. That's what they're doing, folks. They're bringing the fight to the streets because they're being told to by their politicians. Cory Booker, man, watch it, buddy. You're really stepping on fine lines, calling for wars and the president needs to be taken down and, everything else you say. It's disgusting the way the left looks at politics today and just excuses murder or attempted murder on an almost weekly basis now because they disagree with Trump politically. It's not like that, folks. It's not that important. Politics happen. They go back and forth. Look, I mean, obviously, when we talk about some of the stuff like Mamdani, socializing the housing in New York, yeah, that's a big deal. You want to stop that, right? But I'm not advocating for anyone to go out and kill him because these things take decades and decades and decades, You know what I mean? He's not going to accomplish this in one term or anything close to that in any meaningful way. And a good Republican mayor will flip it all around. The city owns it. He'll just put it on the market, sell them back at a profit, and poof, you got rid of that whole fund. You know what I'm saying? So we talk about some of the things they're doing as they suck and as they're stupid and they make no sense. They're 80-20 issues, but we never, ever advise anyone to say that, so-and-so should be dead. I think AOC is an idiot, but I don't in any way wish any ounce of harm on her. That's the difference. That's the difference. They say punch a Nazi in the face, and by the way, everybody's a Nazi. They call you a Nazi so they can punch you in the face.
Yeah, they want to be able to justify what they're saying, justify their actions, which even if that was true, it would not be justifiable. But you know how they are. They think they have a right, to lean in towards violence. But hey, man, you gave me last week's show. You gave me the last minute and a half to speak my mind, and I said this is exactly what was going to happen.
Well, on that note, we've got to go to break, so I'm going to cut you off, and when we come back, I'll give you a minute and a half. Folks, we'll be right back after this.
All right, we're on radio break. Flat Earth.
Cool.
I think I got to step away for a second here. I'll be right back.
I'll be back.
If I take more than a minute, just come going back without me. I'll be right back up.
Sure.
We have a few minutes.
He really has to go to the bathroom pretty bad. Yeah, I guess he was serious about that last time he was talking.
You never know.
I feel so bad that we made him hold it,
I don't.
It's
it's just how it is. I'm sorry, but I don't.
You should have peeked before the show.
Yeah,
should have drank all that.
Come on now.
Look,
false alarm.
False
what,
alarm.
You didn't have to take a dookie after
Just a wet fart?
I
okay.
tried to dip, but only farted.
Yeah.
Did you know cows basically don't really fart a lot? That their methane actually comes from their belches and not their farts? 90 to 95% of the methane release from the cows is from their belching, not from their farts.
It sounds better when you call them cow farts, though.
It does. I think most
You're
people...
afraid of the cow fart. Oh, look at you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird, man. But whatever. Burping, farting, it's kind of all the same thing.
The leader house and boy, where's he at? We need him.
I am the leader housing boy now.
Oh.
I'm the pilot now.
No. One David Hogg is enough, man. One Hansel is all there's room for.
Oh, you silly boy.
Oh my gosh.
You're just a silly little boy.
I think you got it down too pat, dude. I think he's crept into your he's crept in there, dude. The Han virus has infected you.
There you go.
Yeah, but at least we know that when he does it, it's not AI. You never know if it's AI with David.
Well, he's probably
He could probably have that stuff all like set up and like, I'm going to cue this now.
Well, he could set up an AI avatar that sounded just like him that would respond to everything we said to him.
Yeah.
We're at that point now. He could do that.
I'm sure he's done it already.
Probably fooled us as well.
He may have. It wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got now to where it will do emotion, the more sophisticated AI voices and stuff. I watch one on YouTube where I forget her name. She's some AI person. I mean, she's involved in AI, and she's an entrepreneur, and her avatar looks pretty real. Like, I didn't know it was an AI thing until after I watched it a few times. But her expression is like, it doesn't sound any different than when I listen to her talking for real. So they've got that down now. You can create an AI avatar that actually even sounds like you with the way you stress certain things and your emotion and everything. It's getting really good, man. It's advancing very, very quickly.
There's a couple channels on YouTube that do like stories and storytelling and things like that. And when they use that when they're like not feeling good or sick, they'll be like, oh, and then I'm gonna switch over to this, and then I'll sound better, and then boom, comes in.
Mm-hmm. I was watching some YouTube video a while back where it was like some real estate story, this crazy thing about how my neighbors, made $1 million mistake or whatever, and how I got even. And I'm listening to this thing, and I'm like, dude, this is just AI, like, fluff. You know what I mean? This is just somebody spit into a AI machine, write me out a 20-minute long story about someone getting one over on their neighbor.
Here's your countdown.
Their HOA or whatever.
5.
Yeah, there's a lot of AI slop out there.
4.
Slop, yeah.
3, 2, 1. And you're live and on the radio side right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hour 2 of the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. All kinds of good stuff going on. We haven't talked about the war yet, Barry. You want to talk war?
We can, yeah. I mean, I'm game. It all plays. Everything seems to be connected right now. So let's open it up. Open those gates up, bro. Let's go.
Well, we were talking about it before the show tonight, a couple hours ago, and there is some frustration on the MAGA side with this war in particular. And I feel it too. It isn't building too large for me as of yet, but I do feel it, this frustration of, hey, man, we were told 2 weeks. It's been a few months now. And this needs to be in our rearview mirror. This needs to be a distant memory sooner than later. And we heard talks of a 95% probability of a peace deal or a memorandum of understanding occurring here.
Right.
You saw that, Barry, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're 90 to 95% there. In other words, there's just some loose ends is kind of the way I understand that. But then again, we'll have to see if that's true or not, but I'm hoping it is.
Well, according to Miek Cook, who's a news reporter, quote, Trump just turned the Abraham Accords into an accountability trap for the Gulf states, and Iran walked right into it. Gulf states like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey have never held Iran accountable is due to exposure. They share a neighborhood. They can't sanction, shame, or confront Iran while having zero security architecture binding them to the West or to each other. The Abraham Accords changes that math entirely. Once Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, Egypt, Turkey are signatories, they aren't just recognizing Israel, they're locking themselves into a collective security posture. A breach of the Iran deal becomes their problem to call out, not just America's or Israel's. You can't sign a normalization framework and then look the other way when your new partner, Israel, is threatened by a nuclear Iran. The Accords create skin in the game. If Iran violates the deal, the Gulf states aren't just silent bystanders anymore. They're co-signatories of the broader peace architecture. Political cost for looking away just went from zero to enormous. That's why the markets are surging and oil is dropping. The world is pricing in something it hasn't seen in decades, a Middle East where the neighbors themselves have a structural reason to enforce the peace. Now, if he can do that, if that's what's on the table here, a combination of, all these different states signing on to the Abraham Accords and looking to defend them all equally, then we might just stand a chance of being able to step back from the Middle East and say, you guys deal with it now. It's not our problem anymore. And if we can just, for once and for all, step away from the Middle East and leave some sort of a NATO type agreement there, then, an attack on one is an attack on all sort of thing, then it will be a major, major deal that I will have said was probably worth it to get done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, Barry?
Well, we played that video from, I think it was whatever that alternative media was. One, I can't think of the name, not Newsmax, but the other one. Anyway, we played that where Trump was involving all these Middle Eastern nations, to be involved in this whole thing. And that there was a lot of things that the black pilled truthers on the right were ignoring, and they thought it was just going to be like another forever war, like Bush did or whoever, right? That it was just going to go on and on. I don't think that has ever been Trump's plan. Some of the neocons want that. In fact, it was in the Gateway Pundit where Trump said, "Don't listen to the losers. They know nothing." Trump responded to the neocons spreading lies about Iran deal. As more details come to light, right? As what you're saying, we're getting more details, because it was Mark Levin who says history teaches us that peace deals are made after the enemy is defeated or surrendered. So he was referencing these neocons that he called losers, but it was not too long ago that he said Mark Levin was great and he loved him for his support on the Iran war, but he said he might be evil, so I shouldn't probably trust him. In other words, that was his way of saying, I'm going to take your support, but I really don't trust you. And he was right to say that, because look, now Mark Levin is not supporting the peace deal. Like a lot of the neocons, like Lindsey Graham, they don't want the peace. They want war, because war is profit, man. And they like the instability. They like people dying. They love that.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham is probably the biggest war hawk, of our modern times, right? We've had bigger ones, obviously, in the past. Dick Cheney, probably looking at you. But, Lindsey Graham has never seen a war he doesn't want to go head first into.
You never saw a war?
And by he, I don't mean him.
Okay.
I'd say he wants to go head first into a war, but I don't mean him. I mean,
right.
He wants to send troops in and stand in the background and drink scotch.
He wants your sons and daughters to go. That's what you mean.
Yeah.
And die for the cause.
Yeah, so he can sit by a warm fireplace in D.C. and drink scotch.
Or go to Disneyland and carry that little scepter that he carried with him everywhere. Remember that? That was so, oh man, that was so, I don't know if I can say it. That was gay, dude, but that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I always see these memes of Lindsey Graham, with the shades on, and he's, he drops a tough little one-liner back at a press corps or something, and I see through that. The guy is a rhino by all measures, really. He probably genuinely believes in certain, right-leaning things, like, about not having abortion up to the moment of birth. But literally, short of that, I don't trust him on anything, really. I don't know why anyone would.
A lot of people are cozying up to Trump this time around because he's got a lot of power, sway, and influence in 2026, more than he had in 2016 to 2020. He doesn't have the deep state constantly at his throat either, not like he did before anyway. And so they're all just kind of cozying up to him and warming up to him, but that doesn't mean they like him. Those are opportunists. That's who those people are. And they're only in it for themselves. They're not in it for we the people. They're not in it for America. They're in it for themselves because they're opportunistic.
Exactly. The rhinos. He at least weeded out so many of them from the first term. He came back into the second term swinging. Him having been cheated out of his second consecutive term was almost a blessing for him in his actual second term, due to the fact that he had 4 years to put together teams. And he said to them probably very early on, we're going to run again. We're going to win next time. We're going to win so big they can't rig, too big to rig. And that's exactly what he did. And they sat there and mapped out every day to the minute of what they needed to be doing to accomplish every goal that they had. They went in there guns a-blazing with the people that they trusted, knowing what they wanted to do. And it's been a pretty brilliant thing to see. Again, if he can get this Abraham Accord signed in, we're talking about Saudi Arabia, check, Qatar, sure, Pakistan, yeah, Egypt will sign it. Turkey, I don't think would. I don't think Turkey would sign an Abraham Accord recognizing Israel's right to exist. Turkey's too radical. Even though they're part of the EU, they're too radical, right? So they won't be part of this. But, when you're just looking at Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt, and Turkey, and Qatar, then you've got a pretty good group of the neighborhood there. You know what I mean? That's the people that live in the neighborhood. And when you start bombing the UAE and Dubai and start, just missing some of their most important high rises by a matter of meters, you got a problem on your hand. They need to have a system in place there to smack back hard on Iran. And if they need our help, maybe we help them from, the back row. But it's their problem now. If they can make that happen, Barry, he will go down as one of the best presidents in American history, without a doubt.
Well, I think there's always been this element of things that Trump didn't tell the public that are going on behind closed doors. I've always assumed that. And eventually some of it, if not all of it, eventually comes out. But, the people that just turned on Trump, man, they just went to jumping to all kinds of crazy conclusions, man. No way is Trump wanting to get us into a forever war. There's just no evidence of that. And then you had people like Alex Jones making wild claims, but with no evidence. He made the claim that Trump made a secret backroom deal with the Democrats to turn the elections in 2026 and 2028 over to the Democrats. Now, he later said, he kind of backpedaled on that because he later said, well, a lot of the stuff I said was about Trump was to get Trump's attention. I don't think Trump cares what Alex Jones is saying at this point in time. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of dismissed him because if you look at what he tweeted out about Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson, and look, I like Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson. I don't agree with him on a lot of things. I'm not dismissing them like Trump has, but Trump basically said, I want nothing to do with you guys. But then there's also the theory that maybe they're just doing what they're told to do because it's some kind of a strategy, to keep this whole idea that we're fragmented when in reality we're not. I don't know. It's hard to tell these days. I don't want to go all conspiratorial, but I also can't I can't just rule it out because we've seen stranger things happen.
Yeah, we have. And I don't know. I think there's a big anti-Israel movement that's happening in the Democratic Party that's been massive, and it's spilling over into the horseshoe side of the Republican Party, where there's just so much misinformation and so much hatred, and it goes back. This is a thing that's been in existence forever. Blame the Jews, blame the Jews, blame the Jews. The Holocaust, we said never again. And then here we are so many years later where, half of Germany's unsafe for Jews. Jews are leaving England in droves, especially London. It's not safe for them to be openly Jewish. So there's this big movement that's out there. And I think a lot of the ones on the right here, the Megyn Kellys of the world, the Tuckers, are going to have egg on their face when this all actually works out for the benefit of everyone that lives in the Middle East. In other words, the Islamic world.
Yep. They jumped to conclusions, man, very fast. Mm-hmm. And I think that was their main problem. And I've said multiple times on the air that I'm not going to do that, man, because I'm going to wait to see how it unfolds first. Because all the evidence over the last, 12 years does not support Trump turning himself over to the globalists and abandoning MAGA and going against his agenda. There's just no real evidence of that. And he even made a point. He said he was pointing out the neocon wars and how they lasted 10 years, 5 years, whatever, right? And he said 40 days, right? We've been in this 40 days. He's saying it's going to be short term, period. Even if he can't win it, he's going to get out. That's what that says to me. But I think he is going to win. I think we're going to get a victory out of it. And I don't think it stops with Iran either. I think that there's a lot of other plans in place as well. I don't mean war, but I mean to where peace is going to be established and more freedom is going to be to a lot of areas in our hemisphere.
Yeah, Cuba. Cuba could be just an amazing place overnight. You know what I mean? It could be everything it ever wanted to be in a matter of a couple of years. If they just instilled a democratic or republic in place of the communism they have. If they gave themselves a democratic republic, they would be like so flush with cash they wouldn't even know what to do with it all in a shockingly quick amount of time. And that's all they got to do is just say, hey, yeah, you know what? We're done with China. We're done with Russia. We're done with, not picking our allies in our own backyards, not being friendly with our neighbors. Let's just all be, free people in North America and enjoy life. And man, so I know that that's next on Trump's agenda. And Marco Rubio is probably down there right now as we speak.
And I would say more arrest indictments and convictions are forthcoming as well. That's the scuttlebutt that I'm hearing. You know what I'm saying? From people that have real inside sources. And I've also heard, and again, it's scuttlebutt, that before Tulsi Gabbard leaves, she's going to be unleashing some serious, serious stuff, man. So that could lead to indictments as well. We're just getting warmed up, man. Trump is the kind of guy that wants to do as much good as he possibly can in as little of time as he can. And only he could do that because he's like a machine. He hardly sleeps 4 or 5 hours, maybe max per night. He's constantly doing something. Yeah, sure, he takes time to play golf, as he should, right? You got to have a sound mind when you're operating. He should be taking some breaks every now and then, but he's a work horse, man. The guy does not stop doing real work. Whereas Biden, you could barely get him to show up. And then when he did show up to give a speech, it was like 3 or 4 minutes at best, right? And a lot of times he wasn't even making sense. He wasn't even coherent. I mean, it was a big job just to get him to go from one state to another. He never showed up to the one state that had the toxic problem. Eventually he did, I think, maybe like a couple of years after Trump showed up and he wasn't even the president. What was it, South Bend or something?
East Palestine.
East Palestine. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking South Bend. But anyway, East Palestine, I mean, and maybe that was because he just wasn't capable of doing a whole lot of travel. I don't know. Or maybe it was because that's a red area and he didn't want to help them. Just like we kind of saw, like you were talking about a couple of weeks ago, about how they, during some of the disasters, if FEMA would ignore people if they thought they were MAGA, right? I mean, we're talking, these people are diabolical.
Yeah, and that was a thing. That absolutely was a thing. Joe Biden, I remember in one of the debates, he said that he would out-golf Trump. Remember that? He said,
I do.
Yeah, whatever. You think you're good at golf, I could beat you, I'm sure. And it was like, you saw Trump's face go, oh, really? Oh yeah? Mm-hmm. Well, when? I play every Saturday. Let's go Saturday. Let's play. And of course, Biden never lived up to that one. That was funny, though. I loved it. It was one of the funniest things. He realized instantly that he should not have said that.
Of course. But, that's his persona. His persona, because he was so weak, he spoke like he was strong. It's sort of that adage of when you're weak, you pretend you're strong. When you're strong, you lay low and pretend you're weak. There's strategy behind that. So he was as weak as you could possibly be 24/7, most all of the time. So he pretended and he projected to be strong. That's why he was always tough. And notice he was always yelling and screaming and raising his voice like I'm a tough sombrero, man. I'm part of the wild, wild west. Don't mess with me. But he was weak and pathetic, dude. He didn't even sign executive orders. Who knows what he did most of the time?
I'll take you behind the gym and I'll beat you behind the gym.
Yeah, that was that one too. That was a pretty good one, man. I'll take him behind the gym and whoop his butt. Yeah, sure you would, man. I mean, dude, you walk like a robot. There's actual comparison videos of DARPA robots and Joe Biden walking side by side, and they're identical. And I'm not saying he's a robot. I'm saying he walks like a robot because he basically didn't have much of a mind. So he's just like performing and functioning like a programmed robot.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, during his term, we probably did 50 hours of content about him being Joe Biden, the robot,
Yeah. Well, it's still open territory, I think, I don't think that's anything wrong with that. Pointing it out again. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. No. He's there was a good chance that some of the times he was out there, it wasn't him. He had doubles and whatever else.
It could have been a robot skin suit, Mm-hmm. It's just Biden, and he looks walking exactly like a DARPA robot, man. I mean, of course now the DARPA robots are a little bit more advanced, and they can run and they can jump and they can do backflips, and I've seen it, man. It's crazy. But back then, Yeah, he had that robot walk down perfectly. And again, maybe that was some kind of a psyop. Maybe he walked normally when the cameras weren't rolling. I don't know. But seriously, the guy obviously had some mental. I mean, it wasn't because he was old. It was because his brain wasn't fully functional, in my opinion. I don't think he was cognitive. I mean, he would have hard time just exiting off the stage. Remember that? And he would fall a lot of times or forget where he came, where he came in and where he was supposed to exit. And he was always sticking out his hand to shake somebody's hand that wasn't there. It's just all like a circus, which could be a psyop. I'm just saying it could be. Probably not. It's probably just because he's just not all there. But it was just crazy world those 4 years were.
Yeah, I remember they had the question pamphlets for him when he went into the press room, with the names of the reporters and their picture on there, so he could, find them in the crowd and ask them to give him permission to ask a question, which was obviously agreed upon,
Yeah.
More than likely.
After his time was up for taking questions, every now and then his pride would step in and he would take another question because I'm told I'm not supposed to do this. I'm probably going to get in trouble for doing this. He's the president. How could he possibly get in trouble for taking a question? He gets to decide that. That shows that he was nothing more than a puppet.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Oh my God. I have an actual very relevant, I'm just going into this live. This is from Sunday morning, but it's with Jill Biden talking about Jill's performance during the last debate with Trump.
Were you horrified? You saw it unfold? I wasn't horrified. I was frightened because I had never, ever seen Joe like that before or since. Never.
Or since.
Yes. Or
You've
since.
never seen him like
Never.
that.
No.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. And it scared me.
What? That is nuts, dude. They really expect us to buy that. That's what's crazy, dude. They're so bold. They lie such big lies, dude. That's absurd.
Oh, God. And remember when on the night of, she had this big thing where she went up and said, the famous quote was, good job, Joe. You answered all the questions.
I remember that. And then she was trying to help him step down just one tiny little step because he couldn't even do that. And yeah, no, that's very bizarre, dude. I mean, they're so in denial, even though that theory has been fully debunked. We know that she's lying. You know what I'm saying? Because we got the evidence now. They've come out with it. Now that it's kind of one of the reasons why he wasn't running. Because everybody realized his cognitive decline was definitely severe. But the mainstream media knew that all along. They just kept it to themselves. They just kept it secret. That's kind of been admitted as well now by some of them. So the whole thing was a charade. And so they're willing to lie to the American public and keep it a secret from us. So that why? So the secret shadow cabal, whoever that was actually running the presidency, not Joe Biden, which is even more scary because today we still haven't found out who actually then was running the presidency if it was not Joe Biden. Those people need to be held accountable, perhaps in a court of law. That sounds pretty illegal to me.
Yeah, it sounds really very much illegal to me to be just running the government behind the president's back using auto signature at willy-nilly. Yikes. And, was he even in a position for her to come out and say that, I've never seen him like that either before or after the public debate, which was his one chance to come shine against Donald Trump. In other words, the only time we actually saw the guy come out, he was something she didn't even recognize. He's always perfectly intelligent and fine all the time before and after that event. It was just that night that he maybe had a stroke. Maybe that explains why he was so out of it.
That was the funniest part, that I think he might have had a stroke. Give me a break, man. I mean, really? I mean, the boldness and the audacity of these people, that they continue the lie even after it's been thoroughly debunked 1,000,001 times over. That is the sheer insanity of it all. But that is a psyop. To continue to tell the lie after it's been proven false 1,001 different times, that is a psyop.
It almost felt like she was trying to set him up for another run for presidency.
In what, 2028?
Didn't it?
Well, maybe they'll bring back some masked character, Or they'll
Yeah,
have some DARPA robot so sophisticated that you won't be able to tell that it's not the real Joe Biden.
Exactly. It's something along those lines. I don't understand. I mean, there was a moment there where I'm thinking, oh my God, is Joe going to run again?
Well, maybe they'll run him as the VP. Put Kamala in at the president and him as VP.
Well, AOC's got her eyes on 2028 as well, it seems. So got to keep an eye out for her. She's a underdog. She's somebody who could potentially make some waves out there. But again, a mental midget, just not in a position to really argue any of it. Bullhorn Barry on X.com, right? X.com, Bullhorn Barry.
Yep. Check me out.
All right, folks. We got to end the show here. Thanks so much for listening. We will see you on Sunday night, but stay tuned for much more from Drakish Productions right after these messages.
Thank you for listening to the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. If you missed any of tonight's show, you can find it and others in our archives. Thanks again, and you can catch us next week for another brand new show.